What's poppin'? Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. I'm excited that you're with me. Today we're going to be talking about how do I know I am ready for marriage? Well, to answer that question, I don't think that you're ever going to know. I don't think that you're ever going to be fully ready for marriage. I personally think that marriage and parenthood are things that you can never fully prepare for. However, I do think that there are three character qualities that if you have them, it will make you a better spouse. And so let's talk about them. The first one is emotional maturity. I talk a lot about this. If you're not following me on Instagram, please do. I talk a lot about being an emotionally healthy, emotionally mature person. I personally have been married for 10 years. My husband and I have 2 children, and I have grown a lot in my emotional maturity through my marriage. I can tell you that when you're married, it's kind of like having a built-in accountability partner. There is somebody that is there all the time, and just by virtue of another person being in your life constantly, you guys having to have conversations, your weaknesses are going to come out. And so as an emotionally mature person, I think that you're someone who's a little bit more in tune with what your weaknesses are. You're aware of them, number one, and you're working on them. It's going to be very difficult for someone to be married to you if you are someone who is very prideful and arrogant about the shortcomings that you have in your life, because there's going to be someone else there who's going to be negatively impacted by your weaknesses. And so if they're coming to you and sharing, how these things are affecting them, and you're not open to that, you're going to make it difficult. So I would say that's one aspect of emotional maturity, is being aware of your weaknesses and being in a position where you're willing to work on them. These things take time. I'm not saying that you have to be perfect, but it at least helps. Trust me. Another aspect of emotional maturity is communication. Communication is huge. It's something that I struggled with. I was raised by a single parent, and that was my father. And so in the household that I grew up in, there wasn't a lot of communicating how you felt about things and expressing yourself and your feelings. And so for me, that was tough. I can tell you that I've struggled a lot with that, and I plan on talking about that experience a little bit more in other videos. But I can tell you that communication and sharing with your spouse or other people how you feel about things without accusing them, but just sharing how you feel about what's going on, is vital to a healthy marriage. A lot of times we just say communication, but we don't talk about what that looks like. So that looks like not making assumptions. That looks like owning your own feelings. That looks like taking responsibility for your actions. All of those things are wrapped up in good communication. So, and for me, that all is then further wrapped up into being emotionally mature, taking personal responsibility for yourself, all those things, emotional maturity. And I do have a video on 4 characteristics to look for in a spouse, and a lot of that is what I'm saying here in my first point. So that is number 1 in terms of just you being in a position that will make you the best partner possible in a marriage. Number 2, a lot of people don't talk about this, but this is the Chat with Charlie version of how do I know I'm ready for marriage, is you are a hard worker. Let me tell you something. Marriage, and then usually parenthood comes with that process, requires a lot of hard work. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. When you're a single person, you can make decisions on the fly just like that. You want to do something, you pick up and you do it. The minute that you add another person into your life, into the equation, things get a little bit more complicated, okay? And so now, not only do you have the drama that's in your life with your family, your friends, but now you've added another person that has drama, family, friends, and things in their life. And so there's a lot of hard work, things that have to be done, decisions that have to be made. And what would make you the best candidate for marriage is if you are dedicated to being a hard worker. You will be a blessing to your spouse. You will be a blessing to your marriage, a blessing to your future children. Honestly, marriage is not for the weak at heart. So if you are somebody that expects for people to serve you, if you are someone that's used to people serving you, you probably have a little bit of work to do. because marriage is not that type of situation. I've heard it been said before, it's not 50-50, each person brings 50, is everybody brings 100%. And that is true. Your strengths, your abilities are going to be pulled on in your marriage. Whatever you're bringing to the table, you need to bring it at 100%. So please, that's one thing that I will say. Listen, if you want to be married, if you want to know if you're ready, if you're ready for hard work, then maybe you are ready for marriage, because there's a lot that needs to be done. And it's not about you. Having a selfless perspective is going to help you a lot. So if you're used to teamwork, if you're used to collaboration, if you're used to playing the background sometimes and letting other people shine, then maybe you may be ready for marriage, right? Even though, like I said, I don't fully think that anyone is absolutely ready, but and then lastly, open to growth and change. I talk a lot about growth and change because I've said it before. I'm now here in my 10th year of marriage, and the person that I am today is not the person that I was 10 years ago. However, I would say some personalities are more afraid or intimidated by change. There are some people who maybe have anxiety, and so change has to go slow for them, because and I'm one of those people. I like comfort, I like routines, and so sometimes when things change, it's like I gotta brace myself. But I will tell you that there is a lot of change in marriage. Okay, so someone could become disabled. You could end up having children. And then I think 2020 has opened us all up to the fact that the world can literally change in the matter of a couple of weeks. And it's the same thing with marriage. Unexpected things happen. And so I would say if you're a person who is agile, who is able to pivot, who is able to deal with stressful situations, I'm not trying to make marriage seem like it's terrible. It's not. I'm just saying that if you're open to those kinds of things, I would say that you have a characteristic that would make you more healthy or more able to thrive in marriage. There's a lot of changes that happen, and you kind of have to be able to pivot, you know, because again, you're dealing with another person. You're dealing with someone who has their own plans, their own visions, and you're trying to come together and make a life for each other. So these are some things I could just share a little bit just about myself. You know, I got married in my 20s. My husband came from a bigger family, more open communication, more honest communication. I came from a much smaller family. Like I said, I was raised by my father, and so there was less communication. I was not as used to opening up and sharing how I felt. And so through this 10 years, it has really been a journey, and my emotional maturity has been challenged constantly. Matter of fact, in the 10th year here, we're still changing, we're still growing, we're still learning each other. And so I have been tested and all sorts of things in this marriage, and my husband as well, in a different way though. And so I want to emphasize, I don't think you'll ever fully be ready, but I do think it's going to be easier for you if you're just used to being agile, you know, when it comes to communication, being agile. If you're someone who's really set on your own routine, your own patterns, this is the way I do things, and you expect everyone to conform, it's going to be difficult for you to operate in a marriage situation, in a family situation, because you're dealing with other personalities, you're dealing with other people. So these are things that I just want to bring to light. A lot of people are not talking about it in this way. A lot of people talk about other things, but I'm trying to be as authentic as I can. The whole reason why I started the Chat with Charli platform is to be a voice for Black millennials dealing with personal growth issues, dealing with marriage issues, parenthood, because I have been there. And I know that for a lot of us, if you're like me, I have come from divorce. And so there aren't a lot of resources out there to help point Black millennials to what we need to be doing, how we need to be growing, how we need to be preparing ourselves for healthy relationships. So I really do appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Definitely turn on your notifications so that you know when I post new videos. There's a lot more in store, a lot of videos and content to come, and definitely visit my website, www.chatwithcharli.com. Charli does not have an E. And then lastly, please follow me on Instagram. I share a little bit more about myself. You get to see my day-to-day with my family, things like that. Very exciting. And again, thank you. I really do appreciate you. Stay tuned because there's a lot more in store.